What is up, everyone? It's Area of Effect with another out-of-the-box build, and I stand by my statement. This is simply the most powerful build I have ever built, ever, and you will see why. I cannot wait to show you how this build comes together and why it is the way it is. So let's start off with the stat screen. You could tweak this a bit. We've got over 4,100 spell damage, but our procs are going to scale off the 4,500 weapon damage, so that's great. Over 30k max magicka. Look at all the recoveries, and the resistances were pretty good, which aren't really going to matter, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Smoked Bear Haunch, you could use the Clockwork or the Bewitched, but I liked all the recoveries, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Atronach, even more magicka recovery. So we want a lot of recovery on this build, and we don't want a ton of max magicka. 30 was as much as I wanted, which is why I didn't use the Clockwork. We are a Dark Elf, max magicka and max stamina. Resist flame. How can you not be immune to flame if you're literally magma? Look at him, he's molten lava. And ruination, weapon and spell damage by 258. You could use a Nord if you wanted to for ultimate regeneration proc, but we want a little more power, and we're good on ult. So let's start off with the gear. There are two gear setups for this build. I'm using the primary Inferno Staff of Potentates. We want a sharpened glyph. You could do decisive for more ultimate, but we want sharpened for more power. Reduce damage taken by players by 3%, and reduce the cost of ultimate by 15%. That's going to bring our Magma Shell from 200 down to 170. Next, first 5-piece set, Elno Fae. Max magicka, weapon and spell damage, while in combat increases the duration of your flame damage over time abilities by 5 seconds. That takes Magma Shell from 12 seconds up to 18. I don't know why it doesn't take it to 17, but it takes it up to 18. So almost a 20-second ultimate there. The next 5-piece set, Flame Blossom, max magicka, let me get a good tooltip on it so I can see the buffed value. Should be close to 9,000 the way we're set up. Yep, 9,000 flame damage. It sends out a line of flame damage and hits everybody in that area, and also inflicts them with the burning status effect. You could use another alt gen set like Werewolf Hide or Eye of the Grasp or something like that, Taba's Favor, for more alt to get even more uptime of Magma Shell, but we want power, and I want Flame Blossom because it's broken. This build breaks it. Elno Bane, and I'll get into that in a minute. I will demonstrate. We're using the Necklace of Elno Fae. It gives us 5 ultimate every time we use a heal ability, while our dominant resource is under 30%. So max magicka, that's why we don't want it super high, but we want a lot of recovery. But we didn't want it super low either, where we weren't able to hit hard or have enough, but kind of staying in that 40% or lower, ideally 30% or lower range is imperative for that, the maximum uptime of the Pearls proc. Restoration Staff of Flame Blossom. This is what I had, but I would have used it anyway because I like having that long pole for more magicka back when I want it. But I've got it on 1 bar. Flame Blossom turns off when the Potentate is selected and turns back on when I switch to my Resto Staff. So I like that because then I can have it basically proc on command when I want it. Take a look at Magma Shell. With Potentates, like I said, it goes from 200 down to 170. And the reason why this build is so powerful and why you're virtually unkillable is not only do you deal flame damage around you every second for 18 seconds, but any hit you take can only equal the maximum value of 3% of your maxed health, whether it's a Dawnbreaker or a Comet, and we'll talk more about it later. Setup number 2, Maelstrom's Perfected Inferno Staff, sharpened. That 2 trait gives us that extra penetration, and you could use the Masters or something like that, but I like the Maelstrom, even if you're not using the Blockade. Valken Scoria's 1-piece helmet for even more penetration, so we're getting about 3,000 almost more penetration with just those 2 adjustments. Everything else is the same except for we don't have the Potentates. So our ultimate is going to go from 170 back up to 200 cost. We're still going to get the extended time frame on it, but as you see, 200. So you're still going to get the 18 seconds, but it's going to It's going to cost you 200, so that's going to take a little longer to generate. Now, I wanted to talk and show a little bit about the pearls of Elno Fae. How whenever you use a healing ability while under 30% of your primary resource, which is max magicka here in this case, you restore 5 ultimate. So I'm going to go ahead and consume resources here, get my magicka down below 30%. Now, as I cast heals, I'm using Cauterize. Look at the ultimate go up. I've got Vigor as well, a stamina heal. It does not matter. Even though stamina is not my primary resource, it's a heal ability. And I have a magicka and a stamina on this bar, so I can kind of toggle between them both and make sure I'm getting a lot of procs when necessary. You could use the stamina morph, by the way, that actually heals your allies as well, but I used the one resolving for myself. But another cool thing about being a Dragon Knight is, you know, when you cast ultimate, which we're getting a lot, you get resources back. So your recoveries don't need to be as high as you might think as well, because you're going to get ultimate and you're going to use it and you're going to get resources back. Now, I haven't even used my potion, which is a minor vulnerability potion, which would actually bring my ultimate further up. I was just giving an example of the Pearls necklace. Now, I also want to give an example of Flame Blossom. Look how far off. I missed it on purpose so that you could see how far away the line can actually, visibly be before it actually hits the enemy. And I have it on one bar, which I said I like. I switched to Resto, and there it fires off. Okay, and it keeps on going through, hits all enemies. It's very wide, a lot wider than visually it appears to be. And what's cool is, Flame Blossom says that it will deal 9,000, and this could crit to be over 10k, to any enemy in its path, and gives them the burning status effect. It's a direct damage. It says nothing about being damage over time, not at all, but it does give a burning status effect. Now take a look at Elf Bane. It only increases the duration of your flame over time damage abilities by 5 seconds. I have the helmet off, so Elf Bane was not active. I'm going to put it back on and activate the 5th piece. Now watch what happens when I hit the enemy in Flame Blossom actually hits the target. You're going to see it proc multiple times. It's like it reprocs. There it was, 7,000. Now watch again. There it is, 73.93. And then 73.97. It procced every 2 seconds because of the burning status effect. It doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to do that, but it does. There are 11,000, almost 12,000 there with that one. 7,400 almost. And again, the 7,000 value. You could almost get 100% uptime on this as well, because the farther along the flame goes, because it goes beyond the target in front of you, if it hits somebody else 3 seconds after it was procced, well, they're still going to go through the 3 ticks of Flame Blossom, and then it's ready again. So Flame Blossom, it literally procs 3 times within its 10-second cooldown, and it's just ridiculous. That is why I'm using this set on this build as opposed to another ultimate generation set, because I think it's insane with Elf Bane, which I was already wearing. Now, let's talk about Magma Shell. Let's be honest, this skill makes you virtually unkillable. I mean, you can still take a lot of damage if you've got a lot of dots on you, but every hit you take will only equal 3% of your max health. And with Vigor and Cauterize, and even further, the Green Dragon Blood or the Coagulation skill, the heal is too powerful to really matter that you're taking 300 or 3% of your max health. Here is the potion. It is the Minor Heroism Potion. I will actually show how to make that. But with Magma Shell, what I'm showing is all of the Pearl Necklace, the Minor Heroism Potion. We've got Potentates for reduced ultimate cost. We've got Elf Bane for increased ultimate uptime. And we cycle between these 2 heals to proc the ultimate from the necklace. It's just insane. Now I want to show what potion we're using and how to make it. So the Essence of Magicka, it's very costly. Max Magicka with the Major Intellect, Max Stamina with Major Endurance for more regeneration on both of those as well. And then grants Minor Heroism for 47.6 seconds, increasing your ultimate generation every 1.5 seconds. We use Columbine, Dragon Room, and Dragon Blood. But Dragon Room is very costly. You could do a very cheap, a much cheaper, I should say, version using the Dragon's Bile with Dragon Blood, but it only gives you stamina. Or you could just knock it out completely and just forget the stamina and magicka and just get the minor heroism. But it's not much to use Columbine, and you can use something else as well, I forget, in place of Columbine. But the Dragon Room, if that's how you pronounce it, is like $3,000 to $4,000 a piece. So yeah, sorry if you don't have much money. Let's talk about the skills now. Crushing Shock. I love this to weave with light attacks and medium attacks for single target damage. But honestly, if you want to use the Maelstrom's version, setup number 2, you could actually put out Crushing Shock and put in place Unstable Wall and just get a ton of AoE explosions with flame. Next skill is Resolving Vigor. 14,000 health over 4 seconds. Like I said, you could do the morph that actually heals allies as well. That's a little more group friendly, but you're already giving them a shield all the time from Magma Shell. Engulfing Flames, gotta have this. This is increased by 5 seconds because of Elf Bane. So 67 up front, 16,000 over 19 seconds, and then it allows them to take 10% more damage from all of your flame abilities. That includes Flame Blossom, Lava Whip, Immobilize, the snare we're using, Magma Shell, all of it. So this is an AoE damage over time, so it's pretty bursty. It's why I didn't use Blockade with it, but you could, and it's pretty devastating. Cauterize heals you every 5 seconds for 6,300 health or an ally around you, and you gain the Major Prophecy and Major Savagery, increasing your critical chance, which is nice because we can crit with everything we're doing, including heals and Flame Blossom. But Cauterize is very cheap. I like to spam it, and you don't have to wait the 5 seconds. Actually, you can spam it even for bursty heals outside of this build. So now we've got the Major Resolve and Major Ward skill. The magic damage over time it sends out with the spikes does not actually get increased by Elf Bane, because for some reason it's not flame damage, even though they burn. So I cast it, the enemy's burning, but it's magic damage instead of flame damage. How stupid. But gotta have this skill. It also returns damage back to direct damage attacks that you take, and it looks cool. So Magma Shell, we pretty much already talked about this. It's nuts. I don't know what else to say. You basically can't die in this skill unless you really get overpowered, overwhelmed. You saw the clips. It's ridiculous, and everybody around you gets a damage shield for up to 100% of their max health. So the actual benefit to the group is actually insane too, because you get Magma Shell just constantly. So that wraps up the Inferno Staff bar on the front. Let's take a look at the back bar. On the Flame Blossoms Restoration Staff, Burning Talons. They take 7,000 damage up front. They take 15,000, almost 16,000 over 9 seconds. It used to be 4 seconds, and it immobilizes them for 4 seconds, and allies can activate a synergy. So there you see it. It comes up by the feet. You could spam it, and it deals up front, just direct damage. And sometimes I actually do spam it. It won't immobilize them while they're on cooldown, but the next skill, Coagulating Blood. Almost 10,000 healing, but increased by up to 33% based on your missing health. It's just ridiculous. And because we are not using a Tri Potion, so we don't get the Major Fortitude for the health recovery, we can get it right here with Coagulating Blood. So we're getting the Magicka, Stamina, and health recoveries of a Tri Potion on this build, even though we're using the Minor Heroism Magicka Potion. But it's so bursty when you get low. While you're in Magma Shell and you cast that, you can't die. Flame Lash. Almost 9,000 flame damage. When you strike an enemy that's immobilized or stunned, you set them off balance. It deals Power Lash, reduced cost, heavier damage, and it heals you. What's crazy is actually, it doesn't say it, but Burning Talons only immobilizes them. Doesn't say anything about setting them off balance. But the moment you immobilize them and then Flame Lash, you're going to do Power Whip. Now, I can't do it to him because he won't get immobilized, but that's why I'm not using Fossilize in place of Immobilize. Next skill, Molten Armaments. We get our Major Brutality and our Major Sorcery, increasing our weapon and spell damage by 20% for almost 40 seconds, and our heavy attack damage is increased by 50%. So that's even going to apply to our Restoration Staff as well, when we switch to that bar, making the restoration staff not just a weak little stick in your hands. But what's cool, we'll get to that in a sec, actually. Empowering chains. This is a must, I feel, in this build. I do not feel like this is an optional skill. Flame damage when you hit them with it, but it grants you empower, also increasing your light and heavy attacks, which is great to double with the molten armaments. But you can get to point A to point B really fast. Elf Bane is heavy. We're in heavy armor in some of our pieces, so this chains you could really get when you switch to the resto staff. See how I got from point A to point B really fast and brought that Flame Blossom build up right to his face, so they can't avoid Flame Blossom. Flame Blossom is really good with Elf Bane, like I showed you with the triple proc, but even better with that chain, so you could get to him right away as soon as you swap, and they can't avoid it. Then we've got the leap, the Dragon Leap, 17,000 flame damage, and it'll also be buffed by the 10% you get from the breath, the flame, while they're under the effect of the flame breath right there. So I like to try to stay in Magma Shell anyway, but sometimes I'll use the Dragon Leap just in case an ally needs me to interrupt what's happening, stun the enemy, or I'm in trouble for whatever reason. So use it, sparingly. Now, the champion point screen, my absolute favorite. Sarcasm. Green tree, add 10 minutes to food, increase mastery to your mounts and stamina cost outside of combat, mount speed. I always say it, just go for the fall damage here as far as PvP is concerned. That might matter a little bit, some of the weapon enchantment, but green tree is crafting. Do with the green tree what you feel like you'd like to do. Let's move into the blue. Biting Aura. Increase your damage done with area of effects attacks by 10%, sorry. Flame Blossom, Talons, Magma Shell, a lot of it. Increasing your damage done with damage over time effects by 10%. Flame Blossom, the burning. Actually, I think that Flame Blossom might be categorized as a damage over time, by the way, which is why it's allowed to triple proc with Elf Bane. Untamed Aggression, it shouldn't be, I might add. Untamed Aggression, 150 weapon and spell damage, and Last Stand for more ultimate. When you take damage while below 20% health, you get Major Heroism, just another source of ultimate for 9 seconds. So that's great. The red trees, we got Rejuvenation, 90 health, magicka, and stamina recovery at all times. Just a lot of recovery. Peace of Mind, health and magicka recovery while under the effects of crowd control immunity after you break free. This is all the time in PvP, so there's more recovery. Sustained by Suffering, 150 health, magicka, and stamina recovery again while under the effects of a negative effect. This is constantly in PvP. Poison injection, burning, some sort of debuff. Strategic Reserve, gain 30 health recovery for every 10 ultimate you have. I debated using this because we're consuming ultimate fast, but I kept it because we're getting ultimate fast too. So we got a lot of health regeneration buffing going on there. If you don't want to use that one, you could use Fortified. This won't fall off. Increases your physical and spell resistance by 1,700. Or you want more max health on the stat screen, 1,400 max health from Boundless Vitality. Use either one of those if you don't want to use the Major Heroism or anything else that I put on there. So that is going to wrap up the CP distribution, and actually is going to wrap up this build. The Magma Bane build, Magicka DragonKnight. I'll be honest, did I overspeak and say it was my most powerful build ever? Because the next one I've got coming out that's already worked on is going to be absolutely nuts. You guys are going to be mind blown. Maybe I'll say it's the craziest. This one could be the most powerful, but the next one I would say is probably the craziest. Well guys, if you liked this build and you liked this video and you want to see more, head on over to my channel, Area of Effect. I've got plenty of builds on there, certainly one that would suit you, any play style, and a lot of ESO related content. So like, subscribe, share, comment. Area of Effect, signing out.